Cycler birthday with the package from China. So let's go. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we are going to take a close look at the Trimui Smart Pro. This is a device I've been looking forward to checking out because this thing does look pretty damn cool, but how pro is it actually? Pro, plus, whatever, they can slap all kinds of names on this, but the question remains, how good is it actually? First of all, it comes with a 4.96 inch IPS panel, 2 joysticks and stereo speakers. So let's take a close look at those things. Simply because when it comes to audio, sometimes these devices there seems to be pro or whatever, but these are quite, let's say, disappointing when it comes to the overall audio quality or the overall performance of the device itself. But first of all, the looks of it, I just love it. The way how it is, how it formed, and I can tell you already playing with it, it's quite comfortable, but not the most comfortable device out there. And the reason is very simple. When you're looking at the bottom part, some devices of Pow Kitty had some absolutely ergonomics to it that makes it so much more comfortable. It's not super bad, but it's also not the most comfortable device out there. But let's also talk about the controls, because this is very interesting and something I do like about it. So at the left we're going to get ourselves a very tiny D-pad with a very nice, let's say, curve to it. And micro switch. That means that I love this, let's say, micro switch, very quick response, and the travel is also very short. And I can tell you, playing with this on fighting games was absolutely a blast. What is quite interesting that we do have ourselves nowadays now different like joysticks on these devices, where most of them have like the Nintendo Switch ones with the click. We don't have the click, and this is similar to, let's say, the PS Vita. So I do love what they're doing over here in combination with the LED around it. That also change it with different kind of categories. And when you're just looking at it, it's a very short travel and very responsive. And on top we do have some rubber compound for extra grip. At the right side we're going to get ourselves the similar joystick, and again it's a very nice, let's say, short travel joystick, and it's very comfortable without a click. One of the things I really love about this thing is the tiny buttons because of the micro switch underneath. If you're just going to be like touching it like this, is absolutely great, and you can just feel how responsive this is. You're going to be loving it or hating it. I am a big fan of this. But there is another part we need to talk about, and that's actually the buttons at the top. Okay, so first of all, I think they're absolutely great when it comes to the L and R. If you're just playing a game, if you're going to play Game Boy Advance and you need to use them, they're great. They feel absolutely amazing, and doesn't matter where you're going to be touching them. It's absolutely a short travel by a micro switch. Where with the, let's say, the trigger buttons, they're going to get the same style micro switch, and they are not comfortable at all. And how do I mean? If you're going to be playing, I've noticed with fighting games, I need to press them really hard for getting some action or some inputs, and this is absolutely a deal breaker for me if you're needing these shoulder buttons all the freaking time. On top we're also finding the power switch over here, then we're having the host Type-C connection and the physical volume control. And at the bottom we're finding the slider FN. Then over here we're going to get ourselves the DC, microphone even, and SD card, and the headphone jack out. The chipset is an Allwinner A133 Plus with a Cortex A53 quad-core 1.8 GHz. The GPU is a Power VR G8 8300 running on 660 MHz. The display is in 4.96 inches with a resolution of 1280 by 720. 5000 mAh battery that gives you around a plus minus of 5 hours of gaming time. But one of the features I really love about the Trimui is that we're actually going to have a very decent menu. So over here, when booting up the first time, you're getting favorite, recent, and the best. You know, the best is kind of cool hearing over here. So arcade vertical games, here we can see all of our vertical games if you are really into these things. So next up, pressing the R again, here we're going to have the game list, and the game list selection, or at least the platform selection, is quite nice. Having some Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, all the 8-bit 16-bit, the different devices, and of course arcade. Take into consideration that arcade games like Killer Instinct won't run on this, but we're going to push this thing to the limit just to see what you're having. For example, with the PPSSPP emulator. Okay, PPSSPP, yeah, okay, I said it right. But in here we're having the apps, the USB storage, having a quick game, kind of cool, the 2048 game. And then, of course, net play. And with settings, we do have some interesting settings we can change out. For example, the display can be changed out to a certain brightness. I'm going to leave it on 5 for the video. The LEDs of around the joysticks can be shut off if you don't like this. Also, this can be adjusted and they go very bright. Volume control, the Wi-Fi hotspot. Over here, the themes, key mapping, and the system. And in the system, you can even power it off. Language, net play, and let's show you the languages. And these are only languages we're having. Refresh ROMs, if you're having issues with new indication of new ROMs, you can just refresh and get it here. Hardware test, so also very cool that they implemented this in the system itself. And you know, so having many different, let's say, key features that we can use and calibrate joysticks, flash mode, and the device information. So it already says over here the model number and etc. Next up, let's take a close look at the overall emulation performance and how will it run. Maybe starting with some arcade vertical shooter games, because this is a very cool overall feature. But when actually booting up a game, you can just very easily go back, pressing the menu button. Here we can make a quick load and quick save. This save feature, you have even like 10 slots for every single game. When just saving it, you even having a screenshot. Doesn't feature, not every single device has. It's very convenient. And when you want to get into the advanced option or RetroArch, here we can go in there, resume, and that's actually how it works. But let's play in this game. And it's kind of cool, to be honest, that you can just play your games like this. It's not super comfortable because, oh man, it's going to be a very slim device that you need to be holding. So I think it's not going to be very comfortable for a long time. But still, it's kind of cool that we can play the shmup games as they be intended to, and not the widescreen shenanigans that we have seen before. So this thing comes with a very cool surprise, in my opinion. Something you don't see with every single device nowadays. Another game I just wanted to check out is some Breaker's Revenge, and the reason why, because I want to also showcase the D-pad, because man, this thing is absolutely great when it comes to fighting games. If you of course love the clicky joystick, it's super responsive, and that's one of the things that I find very important playing these devices. Already mentioned before, if you need to use the L and R buttons, they are just fine, but if you need to use the back buttons, they are way too, let's say, way too sturdy, or the resistance is too much in my opinion. Let's do the super move without any problems, you can do that. And that is one of the things I find very important. Some of the emulators even implement some side borders, or you can just switch it all out into RetroArch, pressing the menu button and going into the advanced mode. You can just mess around with here, but that is one of the things I find pretty damn cool, that we can tinker with it. But I'm just going to leave it as it is, so we're having also in perfect resolution, and playing some Game Boy games is absolutely fun, man. So that's really cool. It even implements the colors that we're having when you're going to play these classic games into the color Game Boy. Next up, let's try some Game Boy Advance, where they absolutely nailed it when it comes to the side banners because of the resolution. It looks great, and of course we have a huge display. Now with the combination of the Game Boy Advance emulator, yeah, everything runs on RetroArch on the back end, especially when it comes to these 8-bit, 16-bit and the handhelds. But also here I can really enjoy myself, simply because of the navigation of the D-pad. Also we can use the analog stick if you want to. If you really didn't notice before, every single time I'm choosing a different platform, we're also going to get different kind of colors to the LEDs around the joystick. One of those cool effects that they implemented on the device. I can really appreciate stuff like this. But also here, every single sound effect is here. No weird thing going on with screen tearing. Absolutely great emulation. Let's speed up and show you how Sonic roll. Yeah. So with MAME we don't have side bezels, but I don't really care, to be honest about it. I personally prefer always the black bars at the side, bottom and top to give it the perfect resolution. Sometimes I find these, let's say, bezels nice looking, but also very, let's say, annoying with some of the emulators. Where the Game Boy Advance we just tested out is looking really nice too, with the purple color. Oh, by the way, I played this game for the first time on my Games Legend. It's so much fun. It's such a basic beat 'em up, but a lot of fun. And let's move on to one of my favorite retro game systems to play with my favorite game ever. Oh man, I find this such a cool game. The music, I even listened it in my freaking car. Let's get one up. Of course, pressing the wrong freaking button. So one of the things I find very comfortable to play with the D-pad. Navigation works perfectly around the stage itself. Also, if you want to do the special move, you can just instantly do this because of the microswitch and the short travel underneath. It's just great. Into the menu. Ah, there we go. So that's a little bit of annoying if you're accidentally having two of the same games on there. Your save file will be locked to, let's say, a certain game. So it's kind of cool that every single game will their own save files. 10 slots, so it's absolutely nuts. But the over emulation is so much fun to play on these things. Next up, let's take a close look at some PlayStation games. And I must say, when it comes to PlayStation, I can really enjoy myself. Man, there's absolutely a blast to the past, but take consideration if you're going to be needing the shoulder and the trigger buttons, it's not going to be a great overall performance due of the sturdiness underneath, or at least the travel. Oh yeah, completely messed it up. But when it comes to PlayStation, we have so many different devices now that can actually play this without any problem. So you don't really need this particular model for having some PlayStation emulation. I think there are like a zillion freaking devices out there that have this option now. Next up, I just wanted to check out some cruising USA of the N64. So let's boot this up. And the reason why, because this is absolutely a great test to see if this is running. And the overall performance of N64 is going to be a hit or miss. Take that in consideration. This is a game that is very demanding and not a lot of handhelds will run this, especially the cheap ones. But what I did notice is that the trigger. Here we're going to needing it, and oh man, it's such a pain playing this game with the trigger button because it's so difficult to press. You need to press it really hard. If you can hold it, okay, it's fine, but it's not going to be a fun overall experience. But the emulation performance, where this is not perfect, I did notice that beside the minor stutters, we do got some overall good performance. So with N64, we can see even on these cheaper devices, we're going to get slightly better performance. But of course, there are so many different games out there, depending on how is the compatibility with the emulator, what emulator you're running on. But with this combination, with this handheld and N64, I am very surprised with it. But let's take a close look at the Sega Dreamcast part. The first thing I noticed that the vibration motor on the inside seemed to be active with this only particular model of an emulator. With PlayStation, another one didn't have any vibration whatsoever. That's kind of cool, to be honest, that the vibration motor does work. So that's something you don't see a lot, or most of the devices don't even have a rumble motor on the inside. The overlay emulation performance is quite good, and I'm very pleasantly surprised with this. I know a lot of you want to see some Nintendo DS running on this. I do see that it stutters a little bit over here. But if you're going to be navigating with the stylus, for example, you can actually do this. But in my opinion, it's not going to be a pleasant overall experience. It's kind of cool to see this playing on this, but you know, having to display like this is an option to play. And navigating through it is possible. You can also get into the menu now. There's a different menu because it does run on the rest stick and not on the RetroArch menu. Well, this is one of those ways you can actually play Nintendo DS. But again, is this really the way you want to play? I personally prefer to have the original, let's say, configuration with two screens on top of each other. So when it comes to the PlayStation Portable, let's just check out the God of War game. So first of all, there is no touchscreen whatsoever. Didn't mention it before, just want to be clear about that. So here we can load up very easy. But with God of War, we need to have some tweaks implemented to get the right speed. So normal games, let's think about a Tekken 5, 6, that can be run fine. But if you're going to get into the more demanding games, here we need to have a little bit of tweaking going on. All the settings has been set to speed up now. Original aspect ratio. And you see that we're having around 20 FPS going to the 30. So in this way it is playable, but still you can see that this is absolutely like just having this thing pushed to the limit. Then you need to ask yourself, for the money you're paying for a device like this, is it really worth it? Because we have seen some other devices, I think it was Retroid, I think it was the 3 Plus that has, in my opinion, better overall performance. and almost paying the same amount of money for it. The Trimui Pro is absolutely a very cool device. The looks, aesthetics and also how comfortable it is, I do like it. There are more comfortable handhelds out there, don't get me wrong, but the way how it just feels is absolutely amazing. The D-pad and also the ABXY buttons are one of my favorite things because of the micro switch. And again, it's more something I personally love. But the trigger buttons is absolutely, for me, a deal breaker, simply because it's just not that comfortable and I have a lot of struggles where I need them. And that is a little bit of a bummer where they absolutely dropped the ball, in my opinion. Out of the box, it works just fine, and we have a lot of great performance for the money you're paying for it. It's absolutely amazing to see how, let's say, good of a quality device we're getting for the money. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.